This is a brisket. It's juicy and it's tender, but above all, it is absolutely freaking enormous.
Big thanks to Kamado Joe for sponsoring this episode.
Look at this monster, it's absolutely insane. It is so big. It weighs an absolute ton. And yes, it's a brisket. What is the difference between this brisket and any other brisket that you buy in a store? Well, this is a bone-in brisket and it's the full cut of beef. So you got a little bit of extra beef ribs, but look at this thing, it's so huge. How do you get a brisket like this? Well, this is a special cut. One of my neighbors had a beautiful black Angus bull, and together with Herman Terwele, our butcher, he slaughtered it for us and helped us cut it up to the size that we wanted it. And of course, we wanted it big. Well, we got it big. The bull doesn't get much bigger than this, and the piece of meat doesn't get much bigger than this. Oh, lifting it like this is even a challenge. It's going to be a long cook, so let's get it started. First thing that I want to do is I want to fire up my barbecue. I'll be cooking this on the Kamado Joe, Big Joe, Konnected Joe. That means that this is a really big barbecue. But I'm going to fire it up. All I need to do is put some charcoal in, put a little bit of smoke wood in, heat deflectors in, and I'm going to put it in a dripping tray just in case. Put the grill grates in and then set it to the temperature that I want. Maybe you can hear it. The Kamado Joe, Big Joe, Konnected Joe is working really hard to get it started. Basically, it has a coil in the bottom. You hit the button, it starts up the coil. It's an electric coil and that ignites the charcoal. And then with a fan, it starts it up. And the fan also pushes it to the temperature that you want it at. And then it gives you a loud beep, letting you know you hit that temperature, and then you need to readjust the setting so you have it absolutely perfect and you can start cooking at the temperature that you want. It's so easy to use and it turns everybody into an expert on cooking on your ceramic grill. This brisket has been dry aged for 21 days. 14 days in the carcass and then as a technical cut for another 7 days. And that is why it has that beautiful light pellicle on the outside, and I'm going to keep that pellicle. Now normally if you have a dry piece of meat you would cut it off, but with a beautiful cut like this it will be a waste because this is saturated with beef flavors. But then of course I'm going to need some help to make sure that the seasoning sticks to the brisket. And normally I would just put on that seasoning, but now I'm going to need a binder to help it stick, and therefore I'm going to use some mustard. If you like, you can use some Worcestershire sauce or a little bit of hot sauce. You can even just spray a little bit of water on it. And I just want a really thin layer of mustard because I don't want it to be a mustard cook, but I do want the seasoning to stick. You see that dry piece right there? No seasoning is ever going to stick without a binder on that. I'm going to follow this up, of course, with the Pitmaster's Tweety barbecue seasoning. It's very close to the Goldie seasoning in color. It's going to give it a little different flavor profile, but it's really nice to see that color pop so much. Over time, if it cooks, it becomes a lot darker. Of course, if you want to make this seasoning yourself, the recipe for it is on our website, or you can just buy this in our web shop. The link's down below. All right, let's flip this around. Easier said than done. Okay, this is kind of cool. We got the huge thing seasoned up. It's now one big golden piece, a monument. And with the brisket now seasoned up, you can see that a little bit of smoke is coming out of the barbecue. That means that it's actually ignited. The temperature's rising up from a 20 degrees Celsius to a 30 degrees Celsius. So I can see that it's starting up. It's going to take probably another 5 minutes to get it up to temperature and to get that first beep. So I'll wait for that and then we'll get started. There it is, the notification that I was waiting for. It tells me now to close the top vent, press the button, and then it says open it slightly, like that. That's it. At 40 degrees Celsius, exact, like there's not even a degree off. Now let's put that brisket on because we're in for a long cook. Let's get the lid open. I'm gonna put it in with the bones towards the heat, so they can be a little bit of protection for the meat. Oh, wowzers. Hopefully it's gonna close on me. Bro. Of course I'm gonna stick in a thermometer and I'll put it somewhere in the thickest part of the brisket. And then it goes in here, like that. It's now connected. I'm gonna close the lid and hope that it fits. Oh, it's a dream. This is so awesome. And now all I have to do is wait. I'm going to be checking in 1.5 hours again. I'm not going to open it too much because we already have a long cook ahead of it. And opening it is just going to make that cook so much longer. And I know for a fact that we're not going to hit that core temperature of 70 degrees Celsius, not for a long, long time. So we could even be talking about 4 hours before we got a color that we're looking for. For now, all we have to do is clean up and wait. So I checked after 1.5 hours. Yeah, 1.5 hours was not nearly doing anything. We're now at, let me check, 9 hours. And we finally made it to 70 degrees Celsius core temperature. Let's take a look. Whoop-de-doo. And it is a monster, I must admit. It looks spectacular. You see the bones popping, we got everything. You hear the fat melting, rendering down. That's exactly what we need and what we expect with a core temperature of 70 degrees Celsius. So that's a good thing. I'm super happy that I used a dripping tray, because with this size of beef, imagine all that grease dripping into your barbecue. Of course, it's not a problem for the barbecue itself. However, if you need to get it out again, it's going to take quite some energy to burn it off. Okay, now into the wrapping phase. However, I've never actually wrapped something this big before. So since we're dealing with bones in, because with this size, it's hard to have too much, but very easy not to have enough. So 4 large sheets, I'm going to put my heat resistance glove on so I can safely lift this up. I'm expecting a bit high temperature on the outside, so always be careful. What a monster! Let's see if I can. Oh! I'm gonna get that dripping tray out. I just want to scream safety, safety, safety first. I'm just gonna pour a little bit of beef tallow on top of this. Helps to greasing up the paper a little bit. This is not ideal. This is where butcher paper kind of fails. You want to have butcher paper, don't get me wrong. But if you would have had aluminum foil, this would have been easier and it would have worked out better for the folding, not for the end result of the brisket. So, of course, the end result of the brisket matters the most, and therefore I'm going to continue on this journey. Of course, we still might have juices and fluids dripping out, but I feel that with the bones up, the paper is going to have the least chance of getting damaged while cooking with the moisture and everything going on. Of course, with the folds being at the bottom, we're going to lose some of that moisture again. It's just going to drip and seep out. It's kind of an experiment, a big version like this, but it's also the fun part. So let's put it back on the Kamado, but before I do that, I'm just going to do a quick check. See how far along we are with the charcoal. Ooh, that's a good thing I checked. Nice. I filled it halfway, expecting we might be done in 14, 16 hours, but we're now at 9 hours, and I'm at least expecting another 9 hours. Got loaded up with some more charcoal. The brisket now goes back in. Oof. The thermometer goes in. There we go. Close the lid. There we go. So I just got the notification we're at 91 degrees Celsius. We have a cooking time of 15 hours, which personally I think is not that bad. Of course, I was running it at 140 degrees Celsius, about 285, 290 degrees Fahrenheit. And that kind of means that we're speeding things up compared to the normal 120, 240 degrees Fahrenheit. But it's well worth it because you also get that rendered fat, and it helps to render the fat down even better. Now, we need to get this off because it's time for the last phase, because I need to let this rest. But it's 92 degrees, it's bubbling, and it looks scary. What? I'm gonna stick this in the oven. I'm gonna let it sit there until tomorrow. And then we're gonna take a closer look at it. My friends are coming over in a bit, and well, this has been rested enough. It's been 13 hours of resting. And now we're going to take this out. Whoa. Oh. Look at that, what an absolute unit. Look at this. One thing's for sure, the bones are easy to pick off. I think we just basically turn this into pulled beef. The bones are on the surface, and hopefully they did what I hope they do, and that is protect the beef. All right, there we go. Let's do a flip on the board. Wow. I'm gonna slice into this. I wanna see what this looks like on the inside. Definitely hot. Nice thing is that we got a bark, we got that wiggle. Some of the beef is still not fall apart tender, but look at this. That looks pretty awesome to me. We got the bark, we got smoke ring, juicy monster. It's a little overcooked to my liking, but the bigger this gets, the harder it's going to be. Oh, see? It kind of falls apart. That is one beautiful looking piece of meat. Let's give this a bite. This is really good. This is awesome. It's soft, it's juicy. There was loads and loads of fat in this beautiful brisket. Of course, if you slice it bigger, you're gonna get parts that otherwise wouldn't be there for a good reason. But somehow this still makes sense because all of that fat rendered down, went back into the beef and made everything super juicy and tender. And that's exactly what I needed, because this is a bull, and bulls tend to have less intermuscular fat, and that makes them leaner in the meat and also drier when you eat it. But that's definitely not the case now, not with a long rest. Wow, this was a monster of a cooking session with long waiting periods. But if you give yourself plenty of time, that is no problem at all, and you can serve your friends and family with a delicious piece of brisket whenever you want. Just take it out, slice it up, and celebrate. I'm gonna celebrate right now. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Cheers.